Hey everybody, my name is Faith and I am a virtual assistant. That is my main source of income. As of like 2 weeks ago, I quit my job and that is what I'm doing right now. And I wanted to share how I actually got started as a virtual assistant because I'm at the point now where it pretty much replaced my full-time job income. I need to make an updated video all about that. I personally started my business because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and I wanted some flexible income, and I found that virtual assisting was the perfect job for that. So, how did I get started? The first thing that I did to get started with my virtual assistant business is just market research. Whenever you're diving into starting a business, it's a good idea to do all of your research. Likely this video for somebody out there is market research. You want to just make sure that it is what you want to do before you invest your time and your energy and possibly money into a business. And so take in all of the resources, all the free resources that you can. I would say something that really helped me was the virtual assistant Abbey. I believe Abbey has a YouTube channel. I'll try to post that down below in the description. She also has a free virtual assistant checklist to start your business that was really helpful to me. It was a completely free resource. She also has a paid program and a virtual assistant training program. I never did the paid stuff, but I will post that down below also if you are interested in trying that out. The next thing that I did was I picked a name. Now this is important for a lot of reasons. Like if you're gonna open a bank account or register your business, you need to have a name. So you want to do research and figure out if that name has already been taken. So basically just do a quick Google search, figure out if someone else has that name because you don't want to pick a name that someone else has. For me, my business name is Faith Ferris Creative. I intentionally tried to make my name sort of broad because I knew that I might not just focus on virtual assisting. I wanted to leave it open for other creative freelance stuff that I might do, like video editing or website design, anything that falls under the creative aspect. So that's why I called my business Faith Ferris Creative. Now, once you figure out your name and figure out if somebody else has that name or not, you want to get that name on all of the social media platforms. You want to get an email with that name. And if you want a website, you don't have to have a website to get started as a virtual assistant. You also want to get that domain name. I personally do have a website because I just like making websites. I use Bluehost as my website provider, and I will post that information down for you below. Again, it's not necessary to have a website, but I think it just adds a sort of professionalism to your business. You will, however, for sure need a portfolio. So if you do not have a website, you need some sort of portfolio to showcase your work, to share about you to clients, because they are going to ask for some sort of work. I know that Wix also has a free website builder that you can use, so you might look into that as well. So once I did all of that, I finally registered my name with my state government and with the federal government. Now, I'm not sure how it is in every country, but here where I am in the US, you should register your business with the IRS. You need a number, an EIN number. So you can go on the IRS website and do that. It is completely free to get an EIN number. And I know that I also registered with my state. I'm in Oklahoma, and there was a small fee. I think it was maybe $100, maybe less, to register my name. Another thing you're going to need to do during this process is figure out if you want to be a sole proprietorship or an LLC or some other sort of structure of business. Now, usually a sole proprietorship is pretty fine for someone who's just starting out. An LLC, really the difference between a sole proprietorship and an LLC is that the sole proprietorship is basically your business and yourself. There's no difference between them. An LLC means that your business is a separate entity. So say worst case scenario, this probably won't happen to you, somebody sues the business, then they're suing the LLC. They're not suing you personally. A sole proprietorship, it's you are the business. A lot of times this is a lot easier of a process to get started with. As a sole proprietorship, an LLC is more expensive. It is a little bit more complicated tax-wise, so you do want to figure out and do your research of what kind of structured business you want. I personally currently am a sole proprietorship. I don't feel the need to do an LLC. Maybe if my business really grows in the future or I get a ton of money, then I will think about making an LLC. The next thing that I did was I opened a bank account. So usually to open a bank account, you may need the IRS EIN number. So you kind of have to do all of that first. I opened a business bank account with Novo Bank. Again, I'll post that information down below. And the reason you want to open a business bank account is because you want the money that's coming into your business to just be separated from your personal finances. It'll just make accounting a lot easier because you'll easily see what's going into your business and what's going out. Whereas if it's like all mingled together, it can be kind of difficult to differentiate what is what. And it shouldn't cost any money to open a bank account. For me, it didn't cost any money to open a bank account with Novo Bank. The next thing that I did is I decided on what kind of services I was going to offer. Now, a virtual assistant is a pretty broad phrase, and a lot of people I think start as virtual assistants and then they go on into only calling themselves like social media managers or copywriters once they figure out their specialty. But it will really help if you figure out what your services are. So what is the thing that you love to do? What comes natural to you? For me, I started off with like several services, and now I've kind of narrowed down to just 4 services. I offer social media marketing, website design, copywriting, and video editing. Now, that doesn't mean that nobody's gonna hire you to do something else, but it will help you niche down, it'll help you get focused, and you'll most likely be able to charge more because you're gonna start specializing in something. You're not just this broad term thing. You also want to next decide on your price for the services. So starting off as a virtual assistant, I've heard people starting off at $35 an hour. From what I've seen personally, just like on the internet, if you look at virtual assistant jobs, a lot of the starting rate is like between $15 to $25 an hour, just as a broad virtual assistant. Now, if you're specializing like in social media marketing and you're calling yourself a social media marketer, you can likely charge yourself, you know, the $25 an hour, $30 an hour. I personally would never charge someone $15 an hour because I feel like that's basically a minimum wage in some states. And I know I don't want to get paid minimum wage. I can just go work at a minimum wage job. But it's up to you what you're gonna charge. You know your personal financial situation. You know how much money you want to bring in. If you just want to bring in a couple $100s a month, then I mean, you could probably get away with $15 an hour. But if you're like me and you're trying to make this your livelihood, then I would charge more. Currently, I charge anywhere between $25 to $50 an hour, depending on the type of service. The next thing that you do want to do is figure out some sort of invoicing program. So if it's like PayPal or Stripe, I personally started off with PayPal, and then I hate PayPal now because they thought I was spam for some reason and locked me out of my account. It was awful. It was an awful experience. And now I just use Stripe. And keep in mind that a lot of these payment sort of invoicing programs are going to charge a fee and take that money out. So it kind of sucks, but I think it's also part of the cost of doing business. Unless you get a client to like write you a check or to put it directly into your bank account, then you're likely going to have to use some sort of payment program. There's also a really awesome program called Honeybook, which I just started using, and Honeybook is a basically like all-in-one platform. You can do your invoices, you can do contact forms, you can do contracts, like keep track of all your clients all through the one platform instead of using a bunch of different platforms, which is how I got started. There is a fee for HoneyBook. So if you're looking to get started for free, then that might not be something you're gonna do until later. But if you want something that's just gonna keep you a lot more organized and have everything in one place, then that is a great option for you. Another thing I did was I made a logo, which honestly, looking back, is not necessary. I don't even use a logo anymore, but it's just something that I got started on with. Just use Canva, and I don't even know what my logo is anymore. So not necessary, but it's another thing I did. The next thing I did, which I do think is pretty helpful and necessary, is I wrote a business plan. Now, if you're like, oh my gosh, how do I do that? There is an amazing free resource from Business Boutique by Christy Wright. Also, that's a book. If you want to like really understand business, please get her book. It is the best book about business. It gives you step-by-step guides and everything, but she does have some free resources, and I will link that down below in the description. And I believe that she does have like a business plan guide template to help you write your business plan. The next thing that I did is I made a contract, which there is a, I think with the virtual assistant Abbey, she does have like a paid contract that you can download. I think it's like, last time I checked, it was like $85, and they had a lawyer write it, and it's a virtual assistant contract. I will link that down below. I was really tempted to buy that, but I ended up finding some free contract templates through Hello Bonsai, and HoneyBook, I believe, also has a contract template. So I used a mix of Hello Bonsai's contract, and then I ended up just meeting somebody here locally who had a contract. They actually call it an agreement, and they gave me theirs, and they're like, here, you can just have mine. I had a lawyer look at this, and basically I used their contract and just changed the wording to fit my business. The next thing I did was I found a financial tracker to keep track of all my finances, because come tax season, you do need to figure out how to pay your taxes. I know in the US, if you don't pay quarterly taxes and you make over a certain amount, then they will penalize you, and you don't want that happening. So I downloaded a free financial tracker from a place called yournumberslady.com, and I actually just found it through a Facebook group that I'm a part of, and I've been using their financial tracker every year, and it's really helpful. I don't have anything like super complicated because I don't have a super big business. If you do have a super big business like an agency, you might look into QuickBooks or something, but usually you just want something like an Excel spreadsheet or something to keep track of your finances. The next thing that I did was I wrote down my potential expenses for my business. This was to help me because when I did start to get money coming in, I wanted to know how much I needed to put away for a business savings account. Now, you should have a business savings account because there are going to be expenses that you might have for your business. So like HoneyBook, if you do get HoneyBook, that's a monthly expense. If you want to get an accountant, if you need to buy a new laptop, or say for instance, just have like a backup laptop. So I had a list of potential expenses that I had, and I think I wanted to save about $1,500, and so that was my goal. So whenever I would get paid by a client, I would put a portion of that away into a business savings account. The next thing that I did, now if you have HoneyBook, I think that they also have a like calendar appointment setting thing, but I didn't use Calendly at first to set my appointments, so that way if a client wants to meet with me on Zoom or something, they can see a calendar, my calendar, and they can set an appointment. And Calendly, they do have a free version. I use that currently, and you can also integrate it with like Zoom, so it automatically sends them a Zoom link, which is what I did. You can also set it on your Google Calendar. There's a lot of really great integrations, and so you want to set up something where if people are to have an appointment with you, it just looks a little bit more professional if there's like a program and you're like, here's my calendar, please set an appointment here. And then it has all the times that you're available. The next thing that I did was I made a welcome packet. Now this is absolutely not necessary, and actually for my most recent clients I totally forgot I had a welcome packet and I did not send it to them, but it is something just nice to have, and I'll try to remember to post mine down below. But you want to have some sort of welcome packet to introduce yourself to your clients when they do hire you. Maybe set out like, what are your hours? How can they contact you? What happens with like your vacation days? Like if you go on vacation, how are you gonna let them know? It's just like a nice thing to have. The next thing that I did was, I felt like I was kind of ready at this point to start my business, but I just walked through the client journey. So what is the client seeing when they go on my website? If they want to contact me, do I have a contact form on my website? What happens? Where is that contact form going to? What is my next step? How am I going to reply to them? What is the email template that I'm going to use to respond to them? How are they going to set up an appointment? How am I going to know they set up an appointment? All of those things, I just walked through what the client is looking at and doing if they were to contact me. The next thing I did was I just created a few social media posts on my Instagram and Facebook page, so that way when I launched and I told people that I had a business, there was just something for them to look at and something for them to follow. And finally, I launched. Now this is the hardest part, I would say, because you want to do all the things and you get scared, but you really just gotta launch. And when I say launch, you need to tell everybody around you about your business, because one of the, I think, most underrated ways to get clients is through just your community. And don't always, depending on where you live, of course, but don't be afraid to look locally. Just because you're a virtual assistant doesn't mean you have to only work with clients that are really far away. There are likely a lot of local businesses around you who would love to take on a remote worker, but they want someone who's local. So don't be afraid of that. Make sure that all your friends and family know that you started a virtual assistant business. My very first client was through a referral, just someone on my Facebook friends. And even now, I still get clients because of word of mouth from my friends and family. And that's it. That's all of the things I did to get started with my virtual assistant business. And now I'm a virtual assistant, and like that is my main thing. It is the reason I am able to be a stay-at-home mom, and it's great. If you guys have any questions or want to see more videos about virtual assisting and you have ideas for me, please put them down below. I would love to help you guys out. So I will see you guys next video. Bye.